Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. It's another Workshop Wednesday. This week, it's a Beyond Basics edition. We're going to talk about the 7 tips you can use to design the perfect Data Studio report. Before we go too far in, welcome. If this is your first Workshop Wednesday, welcome back. If this is another Workshop Wednesday that you are watching with us, my name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I am the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us through our podcasts and talks, maybe through some of the content that we've shared with other platforms, even if you're already a member of measurementmarketing.io, however you found us, we are happy that you're here. It's our job to help people like you learn how to use all these cool tools, including Data Studio, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, the Measurement Marketing Academy is our flagship product. If you are interested in becoming part of that community, learning more about the training that platform has to offer, we will cover that at the end. I'll give you a tour at the end of this workshop, so stay tuned for that. And of course, with all of our trainings, this one included, just focus on one thing. You don't want to watch our instructors go through this and then expect that you now know things. So you watch the instructor and then you'll pick the one thing that you kind of want to practice, open up, in this case, your Data Studio, practice that one tip or technique. Now it's yours. Now you've built a skill. And you watch this workshop again, pick up another new one thing, practice that, make it yours. That's how we build skills together. That's how we build one thing at a time. And it helps keep us from being overwhelmed and frustrated because these tools can be really complicated. And practicing one thing at a time makes it much easier to learn. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Beyond Basics, 7 tips to design the perfect Data Studio report. Now we're going to go ahead and dive right in with, of course, reviewing the measurement marketing framework and how today's training fits into that. Remember, there's 3 steps. You plan your measurement, you build out your measurement, you launch your measurement. We are all starting in the process of marketing in the blind when we first get into this measurement stuff. We're trying to get to a point where our marketing is reliably growing revenue and profit. So how do we do that? First, you plan. That's questions, information, and actions you're going to take based upon the answers you get. Data Studio absolutely comes into play when you build a plan, because you have to sort of plan out mock-ups of dashboards, things like that. Then you've got your build, where we measure our results, the traffic, and tie it together in a story. Of course, Data Studio is where the reporting side of things gets built out. So that's where your build will happen. Then we listen to our dashboards. We listen to our conversation that the users are having with the site through our reports. We then forecast and ultimately measure against our forecast. That's what tells us where to optimize. So we know exactly what to change and what to adjust. That's the measurement marketing framework. And of course, Data Studio, again, will come into play when you're in your launch phase. But a lot of times, you're the one doing the build. You may not be the one using the actual dashboard. And that's especially important when it comes to design, because you don't want to hand it over to a client, to a boss, to a stakeholder, and them say, well, I got your report, but I have no idea what to do with it. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, that is going to bring us over to Julie Brade. She is our lead instructor over at measurementmarketing.io. Many of you who are Academy members have already used our Ask an Instructor support, so you know Julie's back there giving you videos back and forth and lots of advice. She's an obvious Data Studio rock star, as you will see. But in addition to that, she is our account manager for dedicated measurement management clients that we work with. She's been teaching measurement marketing to our private guided training clients, our corporate clients, for many years now. So she's seen a thing or two when it comes to Data Studio and measurement, and not just getting the numbers in place, but making them look good, making a dashboard or report look useful so that, again, your stakeholder, your boss, will actually be able to use it. Now, in today's workshop, because it's a Beyond Basics workshop, we're not going to talk too much about strategy or how to think about this. Instead, Julie is actually going to show you some tactical components that you can go into Data Studio to actually take and adjust and make this thing your own. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And so with that, Julie, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
All right, let's go ahead and jump right into tip number 1. It's probably one of the more common ones that we see, and that is styling scorecard. So we are going to go ahead and jump into our edit mode and look at our scorecard that we have here. So this is coming from Google Analytics, and we are looking at users, obviously. One of the very first things that we like to tell people that you can do is if you hover over this, it turns into a pencil, and here you are able to change the name. So it helps tell the story better. So if you want to change the name to offer page, you are able to do that. Or if you want to say this is the number of purchases, or however it is that you want to tell the story, you are able to do that by identifying this. There are some other options within here, but we're not going to go run through those today with these different tips, but just know that you can look and see what other options that you have if you need to change it to a percent and stuff. You've seen that in previous workshops. So let's jump into the style, what we're all here for to make it look better and easier to understand. All right, so the first thing that we have is conditional formatting. There's already been a workshop on that, but just so you remember where it's at, this is where you find that if you need to change this so the color behind it or the actual text color changes, this is where you find it, and there's a complete workshop all about that. Then we're going to actually skip over this for a moment here. And this one as well. We'll touch this when we get to a different type of chart. But here is where a lot of the magic will happen. So we are going to first change the background color just so it stands out a little bit more. Maybe we want to make it a black box, but that obviously makes our text black. So we need to go through and change our text color to something that will stand out a little bit more. And there we go. So I'm not a fan of having things flushed over to the left. So we can come here and change. This is changing the actual name, and this is changing the value. And then if you had the comparison option turned on, which is this little guy right here, where you can say previous, actually, let's say previous period. That'll make more sense. And we apply. Then we see this. So we're going to go ahead and say style again and come back down, and then we can change this one to be in the middle. But we're going to go ahead and say we didn't want that thing on, the comparison on, so we're going to go back and say none, apply it. So the next thing that we usually see quite a bit of is they want to have this size of block, but they don't want to have this big of a gap underneath. So how do you fix that? Well, that is where you can come over here, and so you have your left and right and top padding. That's what this is right here. So you can change this so you can adjust. So hey, maybe 24 is quite in the middle. Not quite. So we can try this. And so it's a little bit better. So you can kind of adjust from there. Now let's go choose a different metric for a moment. Let's look at e-commerce conversion rate. So as you can see, this name is basically, it doesn't fit inside the block that I have. Yes, I could go ahead and make it bigger, but what if I already have 20 of these things on my page and I really want it to fit? Well, there's one thing we could do. We can obviously change the name that we just talked about, but if the name that we want to use doesn't quite fit, you can also come down here and change your padding all the way to 0, and this one over here to 0. And then this is where you, again, instead of conversion rate, you could change it to CR or something like that. But that is how you get rid of that. So it's 4. Let's change that back so you can see. So that is kind of what I was doing before. It needed 24 pixels of padding here, and we're saying, nope, you just need 0. So that way it can be truly centered with the text. So that is another pro tip for you that I know a lot of us get frustrated that it's not center and it doesn't look quite right. That's how we can do that. The next thing that will come in handy is if you ever work in Sheets or other platforms, like Google Analytics is automatically giving us 2 decimal points, but if we ever saw like 4 or we didn't want to see any, we can change this decimal precision to say 0. And so that's what it's going to show in this particular case, or if we wanted to only see 1 or 2. So that's where you can change the decimal and make it look cleaner, depending on what you're seeing. Then you are good to go with styling your scorecards. We're going to jump into the next one. which is dressing up your tables. So right here, we have our information that is actually for our scroll depth. I'll walk you through it really quick. Um, and this is, we're looking at something called our event label. That's this right here. And we're looking at the number of users that have done that. And what we did, it said, I want to see the people that have scrolled. And so I'm going to show you real quick what that is. So event action contains scroll. This is a little bit more advanced. So this is looking at our Google Tag Manager setup and the data is going into analytics. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm saying I want to know when the action is scroll depth and then give me the label, which is the scroll depth threshold, which is at 10%, 25, all of that. So that's what this is pulling. This doesn't really help me understand what's happening very easily, but we can change that with the style. So we come up here, we're going to have a lot of the same options we just had, so we're not going to review all of those again, but we'll come through here. And we're going to adjust something that's going to make it a little bit easier to see. So this is metric, so that we have dimensions, column 1. So this is that one right here, the dimension, and our metric is column 1 here. So if we had more than one dimension or more than one metric, that's why they're identifying them as number 1. So we can say, instead of a number, we can say a bar. And here, that is a little bit easier to understand the story, especially if there happens to be a big drop off, we would understand which particular part that it is dropping off on. Then we can also say show number. And again, now we have that value, and then we can understand how the scroll is scroll depth and if people are going all the way through the page as we would expect. Another tip, probably wouldn't use it on this exact table, but you could also adjust your different table rows. So let me go back up there. So we can have, this is looking at the odd row. And if I wanted the odd rows to be one color and I wanted the even rows to be a different color, that is how you would do that as well. Obviously with scroll depth, it's not that important to do that, but if you had lots of different rows with a lot of different data and it needed to look cleaner, that's another way you can do that. And you're also able to do the cell border color as well as the header. So if we wanted a very bright header, you're able to do that too. So that is a very quick way of dressing up the table. So we're going to go on to our next one. Third tip is getting the most out of your line charts. And so in this particular one, we're looking at revenue, which is our blue line, and transactions, which is the greenish blue, the teal color line. As you can see, there's data for the green line, but it's not enough to make it look like the line is doing anything, which isn't very helpful. It's not telling a useful story visually, and we want to make sure we're communicating what's happening. So one of the ways to do that, if we go to our Style tab, you can see, so we have our Series 1, and we can identify what color that is, and we have Series 2 and identify what color that is. The thing that we want to look at is this axis. So by default, it's looking at the left axis, and then we want to show the other one to choose the right axis. What that just did is that it now has revenue, because it's Series 1, has the left axis as it's the numbers that you can trend with, and then the Series 2 has the right. And then this is down here is where you can show the Y and the left and the right. That's hard to say. Left y-axis, right y-axis. This is where you can have the minimum and the maximum. So if we want the minimum to be 100 and the maximum to be 2,000, then actually let's make that a little bit bigger. So let's say 5,000. Ooh, that's not the one. I was looking at the other line. So let's go ahead and make that 2,000. And then this is the one that's coming off of the page that we want to fix. So it looks like it's clearly going above 3 or at 3. So I'm going to say the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 5. And so now it's a little bit easier to see what is actually happening within these two. And we are also, one quick note, if you haven't noticed, these dates are out of order, which doesn't tell a very useful story. The way to change that is under the Data tab, and right now it is sorting by revenue, which is kind of default to sort by a metric in the line chart. That's what this type is, but we want to sort by the actual date, just because in this particular instance that makes the most sense. And so right now it defaulted to descending, but we want to choose ascending because that's just how we're used to seeing the reports. And so that is how you tell a better story and communicate exactly what's happening with these different types of metrics using a line chart. And one final tip with the line chart is that you can also add a reference line. We talk about this in another workshop, so we're not going to go into too many details, but adding a reference line with a goal can really be useful. So let's say we want to have a value of 250, and so there is our reference line. And then this is where you can say why the left or the right is where you can have either one of those, and then you can label it as goal or whatever it is that you want, and it's going to adjust it there, and you can have all kind of formatting. This way, if you have a goal where you're trying to meet or a threshold that you want to stay above or below, you are able to show that and communicate that within your line charts as well. So let's go on to number 4. So adjusting a time series chart is very similar to adjusting the line. So what the main difference is, and this is kind of one of those things that we see a lot happening, is if you try a time series. So remember the other one had line, that these are the line charts. This is a time series chart. It has this extra thing right here. I'm going to pop back into it, where it has this dimension has to be a date. It's not going to recognize it as a time series chart if this dimension is not a date. And so that little calendar guy right there, that is identifying that this is a date format and it can be used in this kind of chart. So then we are looking at our device category. Device category is our dimension, and then our metric is users. So what can we do here? This one, you can also change it to bars, is one of those different things that you could do. And so again, communicating, trying to tell the story in a better way. And then you also have different options here where if you want to show cumulative, which in the case of device category, that probably isn't as useful, but if you are trying to see how many leads total you're getting for the month, cumulative could be really useful. So each day you get new leads, you can see what the total is, and so that's something that could be helpful to you. Then showing points is just where we have those little dots that pop up, and showing data labels is again where the numbers. I'm actually going to show that on this one right here so you can see. Usually we don't show labels just because, like you could see here, it gets really cluttered unless you intentionally make it a little bit cleaner. And one of those ways, and I'm actually going to change our dimension, we're going to choose source. And so now we have all the different types of sources we have. But what if I don't really want all of this extra stuff? I just want direct Infusionsoft, Google, and Facebook, and YouTube. So the top 5. Well, the way to do that, and it depends on which type of chart you have, but there's usually a way in every single type of chart. So this is the number of series, and we're going to change it to 5. And so now we are just looking at our top 5. And so if YouTube all of a sudden wasn't our top 5, it would be replaced by whatever is in the top 5. So that is just a quick note. So you still have your reference line here, and then you have all of the other same options we talked about with your line chart as well. Then you could also, with both the time series type and the line chart, you can change your different type of options here to meet your preference or your brand standards. If you wanted to change the colors or fill inside, if you just to make it pop or whatever it is that you're trying to do. There's lots of different color options and formatting options to do as well to hopefully help you communicate exactly what it is you're trying to say. Next one, number 5, is another fun one, pie charts. Once again, lots of different colors here and lots of different uh, dimensions that are listed, but the way to change it on the pie chart is actually in a different spot. Before we had to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Here, our pie chart, our pie slices, is actually listed at the very top. So we're going to choose 5 again. And let's say we want to color code or use different colors for these. Like Facebook is orange. So maybe we want to change that color. So we're going to choose this manage dimension value or colors. And then this is where we can change exactly what color it is. And this is for the entire dashboard, not just this one particular element. So we could click on Facebook, and this is where we can actually go in and add our own specific color. We can go grab exactly what color Facebook is, or we can just choose one of these default colors. So let's say maybe that's the one I want for Facebook. I want Google to be orange, Direct to be gray, Infusionsoft could be gold, and YouTube can be, where's our red? That is not very red. Let's go find a red real quick. YouTube can be this deep red. And so we just changed all of the colors, and there's not really a save because it's basically happening as we're doing it. We just can't see it. There it is right there. So, oh, and others. So we're going to find the others is, we're going to have to change that somewhere else. So we're going to say close, and there we have now adjusted the colors to fit exactly what colors it is that we want. So that way across the board, across our document, those colors are there. So now that we've unselected this chart, we can click on our theme and say customize, and this is where that other colors are going to be coming in. And if you wanted to change the palette here, you can do that as well. And you would eventually change this others because that's the color it's looking at. And also when you go into your customize and then you scroll down until you get back underneath this palette chart, it says manage dimensions or value colors, and we scroll down here, and this is where we see, yes, these are the ones that we just set up. So that's perfect. It saved it. It's for the entire document, not just this element, which is super useful. You change it once and you're good to go. And now we're going to go on to tip number 6. All right, so conditional formatting and tables. So we've already mentioned that there's a previous workshop that talks about how to set up conditional formatting. But what if you want your conditional formatting to be applied to a table? Well, here is a fun trick where if you select a scorecard that has the conditional formatting that you want. And so here's step 1 conversion rate, here's step 1 conversion rate. I'm going to copy it, and then I am going to select this, right click, hover over paste special, and then paste style only. And so this is what we are seeing now. So which is, it actually matches up. The only way this works is if you have one metric here, because it would apply the changes to all of the other metrics, but it could give you a starting point and you just have to tweak it. So what you would need to do, if you did have more than one metric, let's actually add one. Oops, not there. Let's do it here. Let's add step 3 conversion rate. And so it's applying it there, and we not necessarily want that. So we're going to come into our rules, and we are going to edit our rules. And the good thing is when we edit the rules, it's only applying it to this element, not to the other element we just took it from the scorecard. And so what it's saying is values, and so we need to specify which value. I want to say only step 1. And then we kind of have to redo and go through and say step 1 greater than, I think it was 0.5, is that what it was? And now we can save it. So it's a kind of a shortcut, but if you start adding more than one metric, you're going to have to adjust. And then you could add in another one. You select a field when step 3 is greater than whatever value you want. Then you can go through and have it for this column as well. You can have conditional formatting for multiple metrics, which is super helpful to see if there's a specific step that isn't performing the way it is expected to do. And if you're wanting to compare it to a bunch of different metrics, like maybe comparing traffic sources or devices and stuff, and you could see maybe a mobile device has a different step that's not performing than desktop. So super useful to be able to compare those two. And finally, the last tip that we have here is our navigation. I'm sure you've noticed that as we have been going through our tips, I've just been clicking on these spots and going from one to the other. And this is one of our fun tips that we love to give out. And so what this is actually just a text block. And I'm going to show you how to create this. So we have a text block, this guy right here. I'm going to drag and drop. I'm going to make him a little bit big for now. And what we're going to do, just so it's easy for you to see, we're going to make him the black color again. And we are going to make the text color white so it's easy to see, and make the text really big. And we're going to say nav. There, we can't see. That sometimes we have to highlight the text and get it to appear, because right now it's still saying the text is black. There we go. Now we have white. And so this is where we kind of put our learning what we have already learned. A lot of these things can apply to our text blocks as well. So having to center, adding the color. We've talked about rounding our edges in previous workshops, but it makes it just a little bit more easy on the eyes and just softer look. And then we can also, again, apply our padding, same thing we've done before. And now, well, how do we get it to actually go somewhere? Well, that is where you come through, highlight the text, and this guy right here says insert link. So what we click on that, and then this is again the text that's displayed. We never really adjust this, that's fine. And then we could click here, and I want to send this back to the intro page. And technically, I could say open in a new tab, and this is super helpful if you have a directory type page where you're saying, you know, this is your main report, this is your email report, this is product A, this is product B. It's super helpful and keeps it nice and clean. So we're going to apply, and by default, it just went back to black text because that's what my settings are, and it's underlined. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it again and change it. And a quick note, I want to unselected the element, and I go to our customize our theme, and here is actually where that is. So link style, the link text color is by default a blue color. I've already changed it to black because I was adjusting these guys. And then the link, when they actually click on them, it turns to purple. I've also adjusted it to black so it looks the same every single time. So that is where you change it. You cannot come through and adjust once in here very easily. So it's easier just to go back and adjust the theme. Now we want to remove the underline, and we are going to go ahead and view. And this is the only way this will work is in view mode. And we can click on it. We can see that we're in a point. We have a pointer. Then as we come hover over it, we see that we have a finger that's ready to click on something. So what I'm expecting to happen is that it'll open into a new tab, and we will be at the first page we started from. And it looks like it's working. So there we go. And now we are on the first page again, and you can see here I'm hovering over, and we have all of that. So there you go. Those are the 7 tips to design the perfect Data Studio report. Back.
Sorry about that. I was muted there. I was going, all right. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. That was excellent. So, quick thank you to Julie Brade again. All of the Academy members, you know her already. You've seen her back in Winner Circle. So definitely reach out to her if you have any questions on how to do all this fun stuff. What was your one thing? I know for me, Julie, when you were kind of going through and you were sharing that line chart tip, we have seen that so many times where people will have line charts and one of them has thousands and one of them has hundreds or tens, and you just can't tell a good story. So that left axis, right axis trick is absolutely amazing. So thank you for bringing that one up. All right, so next up, let me see if I can get back our slides here. There we go. Next week, we're actually going to do a strategy session edition of the Workshop Wednesday, and we're going to talk about how to hire the perfect measurement marketer. It is something we get asked all the time for people that are trying to hire like students and things like that. And so we're going to come at it from two angles, primarily from a strategist perspective. How do you know you're working with the right person? How do you know you're building the right team? How do you know they got what it takes? But we're also going to be talking to you maybe from the implementation standpoint, if you're trying to get a job, like what is the type of person that you need to be in order to get a job as a measurement marketer? So we're going to talk about that, but really again, focused on people who are hiring to find measurement marketing people for their own team. So we'll go through that next week. If you want to make sure you get that workshop, all you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. It'll notify you and let you know that the workshop is now available for you. There's also another way you can do it, which of course is the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. Now that toolbox has these videos in it. So every week we put the workshop, whatever the most recent Workshop Wednesday is, we'll always throw in there. But it also has measurement marketing tools. This is important because we've got things like the dashboard toolkit. So Julie's got, I know she didn't show it in this one because she was going over these 7 tips, but there are dashboard templates that we have that will actually go through and show you how to actually, create dashboards. You can copy them, right, and make them your own, which is just absolutely amazing. So there's the dashboard toolkit. There's a traffic tracking toolkit. If you've got a little bit more skills around Google Tag Manager, there's the GTM cookbook. If you're trying to understand traffic, maybe just beginning your skills, there's tools for that. So these are all exclusive tools we've created for our members, and they are free for you as well. All you need to do is create your Toolbox membership. So again, they are completely free for you. All you need to do is go to measure.tips/WW to learn more about that. So again, measure.tips/WW. And finally, if you are ready, if the time is right, Measurement Marketing Academy, I definitely invite you to take a look at that. That is our flagship program. We built this platform. It's a just-in-time learning platform. We built the Academy to get you through this, to go through all the stages of the measurement marketing framework, right? To go through this journey together over and over and over again. The framework's not something you use once. Use it over and over and over again at whatever stage that you're at. So a very quick tour of the Academy itself as I go through. I'm going to pull up ours right here. This is our dashboard. So you have access to essentially these 6 blocks when you become an Academy member. You've got our courses, the on-demand workshops, and the toolbox. This is primarily the content. And you've got support options through either Winner Circle, which is the community of members, and of course the instructors back here able to help you out. So let's go through these one at a time very quickly. The Win courses look like this. We organize these by date. You can see here we've got the Measurement Marketing Framework. Last month we did Google Analytics 4 Basics. The month before that, Google Optimize. The month before that, GTM Server Side. So you can see we keep up to date on the courses that are back here. They're also organized by topic. So if you wanted to come back and see all the Google Analytics stuff, here's what it is, including Google Analytics 4, which is just redone in August. So we have that. Tag Manager, etc. Beyond basics and basics. So if you're just getting started, you do the basics. If you've been around for a little while, time to level up your skills, do beyond basics. Then eventually you do things like server side moving in there. So lots of things here for all the platforms like Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio especially, but also strategy stuff, which is just, I think the real secret sauce to this isn't the tools. I would love to say that knowing analytics is going to make you a rock star, but it isn't. I know lots of people who know how to use Google Analytics, but really can't get anything done with it because they don't understand the strategies behind measurement as it relates to marketing. And that's what we're for. We're here for people who just kind of the normal people who want to figure out how to improve their marketing and know that they should be using these tools, but just haven't figured out how to do it on their own. That's what we're here for. So we help you out with that. We have a lot of strategy courses of how to think about how to optimize stuff, your optimization strategy, building a measurement plan, for learning how to forecast and think about forecasting in an organization. So all of those are the courses themselves. That's just the Win courses here, unlimited. You get access to all the updates, all the new courses we create. Typically every 4 to 6 weeks, there's either a new update or a new course. That's kind of how we operate. Next is these on-demand workshops. So that looks like this. You can see this is the one we are currently doing for Workshop Wednesday. But then all of these are edited down. In fact, this one is a perfect example because we had those weird delays with Google Analytics 4 taking a while to load. Well, that's all going to get snipped out, cut out. Parts like this where I'm touring the academy, this is going to get snipped out and cut out. And it's made for our members, right? So this is the members only view where they can come in, they can go to a specific workshop and get caught up. Because a lot of members, the whole goal is for you to not come in here and watch a bunch of videos because who's got time for that? It's for you to come in and get answers you need to get unstuck and on the way so you can improve your results. So we've got their little workshops set out, with helpful resources, key points, takeaways, related workshops, etc. So, and remember, this is just the 2 bits of content that you have access to. This is kind of the on-demand stuff that you can kind of do 24/7 on your own time. The other thing that we use workshops for is for if there's a new update, something like when Google Tag Manager preview mode came out. It was like this brand new thing. And, we can't recreate a course overnight, but we can do a workshop overnight. And so we would create a workshop for it to help people understand the latest and greatest things. When Google Analytics 4 comes out with things, we create workshops for them. And then eventually we will go back and update the courses. Typically they're updated at least on an annual basis. In the case of Google Analytics 4, we did it 3 times so far this year. And I would imagine in 6 months we'll be doing it again. But that's okay. That's how we roll. And Google Analytics 4 is a cool platform. So we will continue to do that. That's just the content here. Then there's the toolbox. The toolbox are the resources, the tools that we give out. This is also the stuff we give out for free. So again, for those that are interested in toolbox membership, you get access to all these tools for free. Everything here you would have access to. Academy members have access to this additional thing, which is our Get It Done guides. So these are like little kit journeys where we can say, okay, here's how you build an Eyes on the Journey report. Or here's how you build use your tag manager skills, your analytics skills, your data studio skills to build something really cool. Here's templates, to do all of that. So we build out these things to help people do slightly more complicated things, but that are useful. So we want to make sure that you have access to that. That again is for Academy members. And with that, you've got your courses, your workshops, and your toolbox. This is all the stuff that you can do kind of 24/7 whenever you feel like it. But you and I both know there are those times where you want to talk something out, you've got a question, and you need some help. So the first place you can go is Winner Circle. I'll kind of show you what that looks like, the community. It's organized in different groups. You can see here there's different discussions. People come through and start asking questions or helping each other out. And the beauty of this is there are some amazing people back here. This guy in particular, Stockton, he's one of our presenters at Measure Summit this year for Measure Summit 2021. But absolutely fantastic guy, knows his stuff inside and out, and he's back here helping members. He's got incredible stuff. Plus, sometimes he's got questions, and maybe he's not the expert on a platform like maybe Google Ads or something like that, but maybe you are, and so you would help him out with some stuff. And that's the whole beauty of this: is it's members helping members. Using their secret powers or superpowers, I should say, to help each other out, which is really, it's an awesome spot. That said, there are times where you don't want to ask a question in public for whatever reason. Maybe you can't share the data, or it's a client, it's a little sensitive. We get that. That's why Ask an Instructor support is there. This is by far the most popular part of the website. And unfortunately, the part I really can't necessarily show you because it is all personal questions. However, the way that it works is Ask Instructors in here. You just click on Ask a Question, pop in your question, pop in the description of the question. Love screenshots and videos. So drop in those screenshots and videos. Definitely. And they will actually go to our instructors. And then it's kind of like having people like us, people like me, imagine being able to call me over and say, hey, Mercer, can you take a look at this? Here's what I'm trying to do. Or I'm not even sure what a goal should be. Can you tell me what my conversion point should be? Or am I using this advertising report correctly? And create a quick little video that shows us how you're doing this stuff, or shows us how your setup is, or shows us what you're asking your strategy question about, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's strategy or implementation. Our instructors can handle both. As long as it's measurement related, we're there to help you out. So you can ask us questions. It then goes to our instructors, and the instructors can answer you back. If you're sending us videos and screenshots, 9 times out of 10, they're sending you videos and screenshots. And it really is like having a consultant on call. Now, again, not real time. Most questions are answered within 24 business hours, so keep that in mind. But the answers, it's typically answers within hours, not days. That's the idea. And you get personalized help and support because we all know how it works. I've seen a ton of YouTube videos where I'm like, oh, I tried it on my own and my tech stack is different and I don't know how to get help from YouTube, because it's not, let's face it, it's not a great place to get help. It's a great place to get information, but not necessarily help. The Academy is where you go for support. And the Academy is where you go to really learn this stuff, and you get access again to all of these here as well. So take advantage of it. The entire thing is searchable too. So if you want to search for a particular topic, you can. It'll pull up all the courses and the workshops that relate to that topic. So there's a massive amount that you can do on your own. And when you need help, when you want somebody to, even just a fresh pair of eyes to look at a dashboard or something and give you some advice, it's here. Again, whether you're a strategy person or not, the Winner's Circle or Ask Instructor Support, whichever one you're more comfortable on. A lot of people do both. You can use those resources. So that is the Academy itself. Again, a just-in-time learning platform, an entire community. The highest points, again, at courses, the Ask Instructor Support, on-demand library, the Winner's Circle community. The courses, you get access to everything in those Win courses. So very focused courses, including all the updates, the Ask Instructor Support. You get access to much of that as you want. It's kind of an all-you-can-eat plan. If you want to ask us 13 questions a day, you totally could. We love people asking questions. So please do that. It is unlimited. You've got the on-demand workshop library. That's back there. We do new workshops every single week because that's what these workshop Wednesdays get edited down into. So those are back there, a constantly growing library. And then Winner's Circle community, just having that community of members like yourself, people that understand measurement marketing. Everyone speaks sort of the same language. They understand the destination everyone's trying to get to, but they all have different aspects to it. Some are better at technical SEO. There's lots of people better at Google ads and Facebook ads than we are, but we're really good at strategy. And so we help out those things, and everybody helps each other out. It's an incredible, incredible place, especially in this turbulent world that we found ourselves in, where it seems like every day there's a new tool or there's a new reason we got to deal with iOS, 14 and a half when that came out. It'll be iOS 15 soon enough when it comes to, how do you measure email responses? And this is some of the communications and conversations that are happening back there in the Academy. So with that, it is access to over $8,500 in training and support each and every month that you are an Academy member. Of course, it is not $8,500 a month, at least not yet. So please take a look, join the Academy. Just go to measure.tips/getacademy. Take a look at our current options available for you. And we look forward to seeing you in the Academy soon. Again, measure.tips/getacademy. All right. So with that, I guess we officially bring this one to a close. This has been Beyond Basics. Thanks for watching the 7 tips to designing the perfect data studio report. We'll see you on the next workshop. Take care.